My name is LaRuth Martin, and I'm the Computer Lab Manager at the Julia Hampton Morgan Memorial Library. June is African American Music Appreciation Month. We will be highlighting 3 personalities from the state of Alabama whose accomplishments have significantly changed African American music. Eddie Kendricks was born on December 17, 1939, in Union Springs, Alabama. He had 3 brothers and 1 sister. Even though he was born in Union Springs, he grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. He met Paul Williams in the choir at his church. They both had a familiar passion for music. They were both involved in their local church choir and performed in talent shows which sparked their talent even more. They eventually became good friends and started their own vocal musical group with Kel Osborne and John Averty, which they called the Primes. Eddie and Paul were acknowledged by Otis Williams, who was impressed by their vocal abilities. Otis and his musical group joined the Primes and did small-time gigs together. Otis's group already had too many members, so they collaborated with the Primes instead of joining them. Some of the Primes went their separate ways. Osborne and Averty left the group while Eddie and Paul moved to Detroit in 1960. One fateful day, a phone call was made. Otis was on the other line, and ironically, 2 members of his group left. Otis and Eddie both knew that they were talented and needed each other, so they decided to form a group called the Elgins. Eddie Kendricks, Paul Williams, Otis Williams, Melvin Franklin, and Elbridge Bryant were on their way to reach the top. They auditioned for Motown Records, owned by Berry Gordy, in March of 1961. They were eventually signed, but an issue came up. There was already a group named the Elgins. They renamed themselves the Temptations and began to make history. The 2 boys that met in the church choir from Alabama became the stars of one of the most iconic singing groups in history. The Temptations produced the hits such as The Way You Do the Things You Do, Get Ready, and Since I Lost My Baby. Eddie eventually left the group because of his negative relationship to Gordy. Eddie still had hits in his solo career like All By Myself and Going Up in Smoke. Wilson Pickett was born in Prattville, Alabama in March 18, 1941. His parents were sharecroppers and they lived on a cotton farm. He grew up in the South, and as a result, he was very involved in church and was even a member in the choir. He developed an interest in vocal singing. His childhood was difficult, to say the least. He was abused by his mother and always bargained to run away because of it. He moved to Detroit to live with his father in his teens and continued to sing in churches and became acquaintances with famous personalities like Little Richard. One day he joined a gospel group called the Violinaires. However, he felt that gospel held him back from experiencing the fullness of the moan, a vocal tradition in the Southern Negro culture. He went to secular music in 1959 and joined the Falcons, a rhythm and blues group. He went solo, which made him a better artist, with producing hits like Mustang Sally. Wilson Pickett was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991. Mattie Moss Clark was born in Selma, Alabama in 1925. She had 8 other siblings. She grew up in the Church of Christ in prayer. Her family were musically involved in gospel. Her mother played guitar, sang, and preached. Her brother Bill became the leader of the group Bill Moss and the Celestials. Mattie began playing the piano when she was 6. As a result of living in Alabama, Mattie became familiar and skilled in the church choir. She began practicing singing in high school. She was aiming her education to music in college. She attended Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. She went back home and supported her mother in church service due to the death of her father. She moved to North Detroit with her sister in 1947 and participated in multiple church congregations for gospel singing. Mattie soon became affiliated with the denomination of the Church of God in Christ. She was baptized and became the minister of music. She was offered to lead choirs everywhere, but accepted to be a part of the Southwest Michigan jurisdiction of the Church of God in Christ in Detroit. Clark became the director of music and formed a choir with members from various churches, which became the Southwest Michigan State Choir. This started the stardom of Mattie Moss Clark. In 1958, she recorded Going to Heaven to Meet the King, with the Southwest Michigan State Choir becoming one of the first to teach and conduct a mass choir composed of members of different churches. She received 3 gold albums with the Southwest Michigan State Choir and went on to write and arrange hundreds of songs and recorded over 50 albums. She directed Cadillac Motor Company's Christmas Choir for 11 years and also conducted community-wide mass choirs for the prestigious NAACP Freedom Fund dinners. In early 1968, Clark and Elmer Kendricks convened a sing-a-rama in Detroit at Reverend C.L. Franklin's New Bethel Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan. They formed a 1,000-voice choir and had legendary gospel singer Reverend James Cleveland to come in as a special guest. Cleveland so enjoyed the music and teaching classes that he told Clark he would like to create a similar convocation and maybe call it the Music Workshop of America. This started the stardom of Mattie Moss Clark. In 1958, she recorded Going to Heaven to Meet the King, with the Southwest Michigan State Choir becoming one of the first to teach and conduct a mass choir composed of members of different churches. She received 3 gold albums with the Southwest Michigan State Choir and went on to write and arranged hundreds of songs and recorded over 50 albums. Clark suggested that he add gospel to the title to let prospective attendees know it was gospel music only. Cleveland wasted no time in putting the word out. The first Gospel Music Workshop of America convention took place in August of 1968 at the King Solomon Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan. The idea was to perpetuate the legacy and appreciation of gospel music through classes and provide an opportunity to expose new talent. For more information on these artists, go to www.mccpl.lib.al.us.